The idea that we are not influenced by the things around us is actually pretty crazy. So when people just say, okay, everybody has to take accountability for their own actions and their own choices and things like that, it's not that that's not a valid statement, except that we tend to leave out how easily we are manipulated by our surroundings and the messages we get from our surroundings, especially when we're young. It obviously can happen at any age, but I think especially when we're young, we're even more influenced by our surroundings. I'll use this example. Where I grew up, I lived in a very like towny city, kind of pre-internet. The internet was just kind of happening. Yes, I'm old. I get it, whatever. Like where I grew up, if you owned a Coach bag, it's like you were a snob. Who the hell does she think she is with a Coach bag? Like that was high end where I grew up. So after college, I ended up moving closer to a major city, and I ended up working in this very like upscale retail store. And most of the women I was around, the women I worked with, were all used to being closer to a big city and closer to like luxury brands and things like that. And the place where I worked, like Coach was like low end. Like that was the low end of the luxury brands that we sold. In fact, I even remember a girl I worked with seeing a woman carrying a Coach bag one time, and she like looks at me and she's like, oh my god, Coach is so high school. And I remember being like, you had Coach in high school? like when I was in high school, I carried like my mom's hand-me-down purse from like Caldors, which if you don't know what store that is, it means you probably are not in your 40s from New England, but that's a whole other story. Designer bags in high school where I grew up and the time period I grew up in, not a thing. Like it just wasn't a thing. But here all of a sudden, let's say I was like 22 around this time period, I'm working in this very high-end retail store surrounded by girls who all like grew up where their families were buying them luxury brands their whole life. And honestly, I worked there for about a year, and in that time period, because I was so immersed in luxury brands and people that normalize the idea of buying luxury brands, like I actually forgot that there were things in the world that were a reasonable amount of money. It really does start to retrain your brain to think like, oh, like 90 bucks for like a regular cotton t-shirt, that's normal. It's not normal, but like if that's what you're surrounded by and you're surrounded by people that think that way, you start to think that way. Even if your whole life you've been told to think differently, like if you're immersed in a world where everybody around you starts thinking a certain way, it's so easy to get caught up in that.